have to go get my founder thing. I don't know where that is.
Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody? Where are all your faces?
Sure.
Hello, Alan. Happy Valentine's Day.
Hello, happy Valentine's Day.
Hello, dear.
Hello, welcome. Come in. Show me your face. Adora is communicating with Mr. Waitley. While we're waiting for her to come back, tell us your wins from yesterday. I know yesterday was a huge breakthrough day for so many of you. So tell us what you tell us what happened for you. Or I can continue to sit here and make funny faces at you.
Wait, what in the world is happening right now? Where are you guys at? What are you doing? Leaving Jennifer hanging right there. I'm just kidding. Happy Val, come on. You're participators. It's your chance to be visible. Come on and share. Take away, share something.
Look at that cute little girl. Oh.
Hello, happy Valentine's Day. I'm here with my daughter today.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Do you have a win or a takeaway, Dr. Andrea, before we go to Michelle?
Yes, I always have, right? First, DMA is incredible. And to me, the session yesterday, hold on, my love, I'm talking. She gave us so much clarity about who we serve and what are the resources that we can use to serve who we want. And in my case, at the Divas, I serve all these Divas, future Divas members, and she brought so much clarity. And what I like about her approach, she's practical. She tells you step by step. So it's not just theory, but it's things that we can apply and we'll get results. So thank you, Adora, for bringing her to us. It was amazing yesterday.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Andrea. I'm going to celebrate that we are opening Africa and the Latin market over like next week. That is just exciting to know the reach you're making together as a community. We're making as, yes, Michelle.
And I have another win, sorry, because you mentioned about the African. I was at 2 a.m. talking to a leader in Kenya who is going to recommend 3 influencers to our meeting next week. So it's a great win. Thank you.
So this is, remember, I'm always going to peel back the curtain. Why do we start with influencers and a launch? And Jimmy will have some things to say about that at some point, but I'll tell you that I love starting with leaders and influencers because it's the highest leverage, right? They're already running, they're already impact oriented. So if you're aligned, then you're going to move more powerfully, fast, and impact together. So it's one of the best ways when you're launching a podcast to have someone influential. There are a lot of different reasons, but you move the communities together. And so we go faster, further. Jimmy, anything you want to add to that? Or we just keep, yeah.
No, you're right on. I mean, I look on here and I see Brianna on as well, and you know the influencers that have been coming on, you know, they quickly, you know, when you're already running and gunning and you're successful, you already have some things, and you're like, you have to be very, you know, careful with your time and choose the things that really serve you. And I constantly hear that with the people that we're collaborating with, like they want to be part of it because it serves them as well, and they see the bigger vision of what the divas are trying to do, and so they just want to be part of it. And so yeah, influencers, as we start to launch the continent of Africa, Spanish speaking, let's find those people that can catch Adora's vision and the vision of all of you, included in that, and then let's just continue to move that. And so yeah, very, very exciting.
Yeah, and I want to also define, when we say influencers, I don't just mean someone with millions of followers, tons of engagement. It means they're influential in their community in some way. Maybe they're a leader at a church and they're well known for what they do in the community. Maybe they're in politics. Maybe they lead, organizations, or they're in schools in a certain way. Micro influencers, it's all influence, right? You are all influencers. You are influencing the way someone is thinking, the way they're showing up in relationships, the way they're reconsidering perspectives. But we're starting with who are the most influential people we know, because when they catch a vision like this, we love to run together, as we're seeing in Africa. So thank you for that. All right, Michelle, I do need to get with Dr. Denis Waitley and make sure he has everything that he needs to come and join us today. He's amazing and looks way younger than he is. And I know a lot of the secrets to that because I've watched over the years. But Michelle, let's hear it.
Well, first of all, anytime DMA is on, it's always like you get all this perspective, and it really cones down onto making the simplicity of it, because sometimes our minds overcomplicate it. So I love how she's able to simplify it. The other thing I want to share, Adora, was Justine and I got to record the first episode of the podcast last night for the founding for the Divas as well, and wanted to celebrate that. But one thing I wanted to bring up was Ali asked the question, like he was posing it to Justine and I, and I just shared this with Abigail too, of us already becoming, right? Like, what do you tell people who are listening to the audience? And I had this moment of like, I haven't become yet. And I think that it's this mentality and this switch of that change. And so I want to put that out to all of us, because we have, by joining this, by doing all of this, that we are, and it's sometimes hard for our brains to process it. But I think as we come together and collectively celebrate each other and all these steps, the small steps really lead to that big perspective, which DMA has been really showing us, and really how we do that. And so I just want to illustrate that through the podcast recording that we did last night. And it was really fun. We were even able to talk about our trip to Africa, since it was just the two of us, and bringing the African message into all of this, and all the communication and stuff connections that we can make to really drive this.
I love that so much. I also love that Brianne talked about this a while back, because I remember watching Louise Hay. How many of you know Louise Hay? Heal Your Body, Heal Your Life. Very monumental work in my life. And I was watching her in what had to be her 80s sit with Nick, and they were tapping on an issue that she had, a headache, and she was saying that's where her dad used to push her underwater, and it was still, causing tension headaches. And Nick was like, wow, not only are you the Louise Hay who's freed millions of people through your work, but also you've published all these famous authors, like Wayne Dyer, like you are known, and yet here you are. And she goes, yeah, it's still there. So I'm still working on it. And I remember looking at her and going, wow, she is a masterpiece, a total masterpiece. And she's a work in progress. And I remember going, I'm a masterpiece right now, exactly where I am, and a work in progress, right? And so what you just reminded me of is the becoming. Like, yes, you are fully able, capable, ready, a contribution to humanity, and you're still becoming. We're still a work in progress, right? So look out, world. And you are now going to be on Audible and iHeartRadio and iTunes and on the DIVA Network. And it takes something, right? When you start to see the world act different. I could say a lot more about that, but we'll keep it going. Lorna, thank you so much, Michelle.
Hey, Adora. Hey, everyone. Great to be here. Happy Friday, everyone. Yesterday was off the chain. And I just want to, publicly acknowledge Melanie.
Yeah.
What was most profound for me yesterday was the vulnerability that came into the room, and how just by asking questions, like there was so much clarity the simplicity that DMA used to, help everyone understand exactly where we're going. I always remember this sentence from my college days, my economics class, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I don't mean stupid in stupidity, but stupid in it's so simple. If we keep it simple, the 3 questions that we ask in the conversations that we get to have, and how to listen for what the other person is asking for, not in our ideas. It was amazing. And again, I want to thank everyone who participated, because of your vulnerability, so many of us were able to hone in a little bit deeper on exactly where we're going. So this is an amazing group. I'm super excited for how we're growing. And I just can't wait to see what happens at the end of 90 days.
Woo, 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 woo. I love it. Oh, Tasha got her background. All right, Barbara.
I have to just start with the dance to say, woohoo, Africa in the house. I am very excited. Yesterday for me was so powerful. It was very emotional, but it also really, really gave me the clarity I needed as well. And just honing in, and the way she just comes at you, asking you to be very specific. And you're like, okay, I've been dancing around this and I know these words, but then she just gives you that clarity. So I'm excited about Africa. I know we have some powerhouses here. Annie, I'm shouting out to you, Mark, Dr. Miriam, Dr. Andrea, everybody on the call. We are just going to blow and create that wealth, on the continent of Africa with all our women and families. So I'm so happy and excited. Woo-wee!
Woo-wee!
And Tasha, yes, I forgot you, sis.
I love it. I just want to sit in that for a second on Valentine's Day, when it's about love, and so much of us, to even be here, you've had to come to love your journey. You've had to come to love what you're called to, and maybe you haven't had to do anything. You've chosen that. But we're all aligned in our desire to make a big difference, and we're heart-centered. You're contribution minded. And I know you are, because we're very clear on our messaging that we're and in my prayers, I'll tell you behind the scenes too, the contribution minded, heart-centered leaders that are here to make a big impact. And just to see your faces lighting up, and how it's been such a short time, but there's already so much clarity and movement and freedom. And it's just the beginning of the ripple, right? It's just the beginning of the ripple. In Africa, that also blows me away. I know we're starting with Latin America too, but I wouldn't have guessed that would be the first place that we're going. I know, but it's been right here, elicited from the space, not only from people actually living there, but so many people already have visited there, have nonprofit initiatives there, have, and even more of that was revealed yesterday. And, I love dance and I love embodiment. I love the phrase, pray with your feet. Pray with your feet, which to me, when I dance, I pray with my feet. It feels like a prayer,
beautiful.
but it's also with action, get to work, get to movement.
Oh my gosh.
The idea of putting our feet together on the grounds in Africa, and the multicultural conversations that will be elicited through Melanie, Barbara, and all these different people. We actually have someone in Africa next week that we just found out, that's introducing us to a whole bunch of other. It's like, I call it an anointing, but you call it what you want. It's like when this wave just starts happening, and there's such a gift in that, because what you realize is it's bigger than you, right? And it's, as much as we are praying with our feet and it's a together, there's also a surrender to like, this wants to happen. It's been waiting to happen, and it's been culminating through us, as us. All our lives have brought us to these moments, and we get to like surrender to, in some ways we can't get it wrong, you know, because God is in the atmosphere, is my opinion. And you say your words, you say the universe, you say highest self, intentionality, Allah, whoever, you know, it matters to you, but it's a beautiful thing to receive this moment with you all and to witness it, and that it's really multiple voices already in the conversation. So cool. Justine.
Myself on mute. Hi, yes, just kudos and all the things. I think I had a dream about my Africa connections. I've been in touch with Stella with the Pink Lady Foundation to try and pull her in. She's involved in events right this week there around breast cancer. And it's just, I talked to Ika this morning. So that ripple effect, but also, and happy Valentine's Day. I have my Valentine's earrings on. Today, this morning, I had a call with a client and I just asked the question, what's the outcome you want? And it frustrated her for a minute, but it got us to the point, like using these tools we are learning right here in real time outside of here is what we talked about. That's what I'm kind of continually blown away with, is I feel the ripple effect. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, so you were able to hold a new standard for your client.
Yeah.
And to pull her forward, and you got to be a little bit fierce because you knew the stand you were making for her, and it caused a breakthrough.
Yeah, and also to hear her objection, her reframe her objection. You know, she was trying to her outcome and her fear, like her fear was around the tech, and I'm like, but we've got the answer for you. We're here to help with that. And her outcome is that she wants to be doing audiobooks, but it took a minute to get there because her fear was stopping her from seeing what the outcome that she wanted. So to just keep asking that question and really get the friction point, it was great.
Yeah, someone who remembers those 3 questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Let's put them in the chat. I'd like to see those 3 questions, and we'll do a little drill with that in a moment. There's another thing that all of this is starting to click together. You know how something that works in one area of life, like, I don't know, maybe you feel really put in, yeah, you know what I mean, Lorna? There's something, maybe you have one area of life and it's really, really working. And you go, wow, if I could pull that mastery over here to my other area of life. But what's happening right now is the different parts of your life and the things that you know are starting to kind of integrate and come together, right? Are you feeling some of that? What I'm seeing is, I heard this, again, I'm going to talk from what I've been reading, right? We all talk from what we're reading and but I was hearing about David, and there was a time when God told him not to take a census. So not to do all the details and not to, you know what I'm talking about, Alan, right? And David disobeyed, and then there was almost a big consequence, and God forgave him. And then I've also been thinking about Jesus calling, you know, the walking on water and the whole, you know, by faith and paying attention. And I hear this in the conversation with DMA and the conversations we've been having around what is the bigger outcome you want? What is the bigger outcome? And a lot of times we go into the how we're going to get it, and the what's not working, and what I need to do better, and what I need to say better, and who I need to know. And maybe like Melanie, I need a book club or a dance club or a meetup or 9 more Zooms, and we start adding this stuff, and we get kind of in the weeds, and it actually can create more time, more resistance, more feelings of like, what the heck am I even doing? Uh-oh, what's the economy doing, right? Versus when we stay hooked into the outcome, into it is done, into vision, into what is the end result, and then what's the gap, what's the friction, right? And then what's the fastest path to that outcome, so that we start asking better questions. Like, and for those of you who weren't in VIP, yesterday there was a part about, oh, we want to create microloans, right? And everybody started going, well, cool. Even me, I was like, we're doing that with the DIVA Network. Cool, that's coming. And then what happened is there's an organization, someone put that in the chat, Kiva, Kiva, that already not only does microloans, but where DMA showed us, she put $100 in there once, and she has reloaned it. They've reloaned it multiple times because people pay it back, and she gets to choose and see all the stories and who she wants to. So by asking the right questions, rather than spending the next year figuring out how to create microloans, right? It was like, boom, handled in 2 minutes. Now we're trying to go, can we do a Kiva Diva collaboration, right? Can we? And so it's reminding me of not just a logical, but a way of being. Like, how do you stay hooked into faith? How do you stay, yes, solving and intentional and very moving, but stay hooked into the faith in your vision, the process. We lost Brienne. Where'd her face go? And where are the rest of your faces? Who, not how. That's right. That's right. Let's collaborate with Kiva Diva. Okay. So what I want you to do right now, where are those 3 questions? Someone put them in the chat, right? Did anyone put them in the chat? There we go. What resources do you need? Who put them in the chat? Let's see. Are they fresh?
Resources, and other people put, I put outcome and other people put resources. So I need to know which it is on that first question.
It was friction gap and what's the outcome? Oh, okay. Resources. We probably heard different ways. It's okay. We'll get her back. So Jimmy, I need a little support, and I want the group to go into a dialogue themselves about a breakout room while I go get Denis Waitley, because I need to make a call. Usually that guy is early, and so I'm guessing something is happening, so I need to step away. But I'd like for us to be able to have a little breakout session where everybody gets to talk about these 3 questions again, thoroughly, or quick, like think through the questions. So maybe 2 or 3 people in a room, and let's give it like 10 minutes. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yep, you got it. Let's do it. So Jennifer's going to get everybody into your breakouts. She's setting that up as we speak while Adora does her thing. We appreciate you, Adora. Is this exciting? Where's the energy at? Everybody ready to get in some breakouts and go deeper? It's Valentine's Day. We can show each other some love in these breakout rooms and help each other. What a great gift to give. So here we go. So everybody there, if you have never been in a breakout room, click that button right now on your screen that says join. And if there's anyone alone, we will do some rearranging. So everyone go into your breakouts. So Jen, are those the last ones, or what resources do you need? What friction needs to be removed? What gaps need to be filled? It's not resources.
I mean, I think it's resources,
Oh,
because
there it is. No, it's in there. I
what
see
do
it.
you need? Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to broadcast that real quick so they have it. Oh, it doesn't let you copy? Oh, man. Kidding me.
Okay, I'm gonna move this.
Are we
Oh,
live streaming while you guys and recording?
Jamie,
while-
I put it in the pan group.
okay, thank you.
Hello, welcome back. Who's got something to share? Some breakthrough, some amazing something that happened.
Well,
Coach
let's
Sloan.
pick one of them, and then I got some stuff for you. Okay, who is it? Who is it? Thanks, love. Who is it that has the breakthrough? Did someone raise their hand? Yes, Alora. You're muted.
Okay. Well, I wanted to share this because, we talk about an MVP, like, what is that? The minimum viable product, right? Right. So the other day when I had my interview with Kim and Ed, I got off and it wasn't like I tried to, give them a proposal about what we could do, but I wanted to give them something to come away from the conversation with that was immediate and could make a difference. And so this is an MVP that everybody there can take if you're in a relationship. So the most important thing you can do quickly in a relationship is start sleeping nude together. When you sleep nude and you sleep skin to skin, I asked ChatGPT to tell me the benefits of skin to skin contact for couples. And you can't even believe all of the.
Well, put them in the chat. Put them in the chat.
I will, but anyway, so
people
that's
are high-fiving. That's awesome. Thank you, Laura.
everybody.
Thank you. We got it. Thank you. Valentine's Day. If you're in a couple, Laura recommends, and ChatGPT will give you lots of reasons, and it's in the chat. Sleep nude together. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Okay. One more takeaway, and then I've got to tee up our guest who will be on soon. Yes, Jennifer. I love it, Laura. Thank you. You're adding more intimacy. And hey, vocal coaching by Sloan, she's having a great time on the plane or she's like, yes. Okay, Jennifer.
Laura, you're so great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I want to say hi to Nancy. I think she's new. And I got to be with Nancy and Dan, and I just want to acknowledge her. She jumped right in. Dan's had trouble with his audio, so I had the opportunity to practice asking my questions, and because we need practice. And Nancy did great. She did great, and one of her resources ended up being the DIVA Network. So I'm just saying, it was so good. She did great. And I want to thank her for allowing me to coach her through these questions and giving me the opportunity to practice too. So good.
Awesome. Okay. So I want to give you a little story, and then, technology is incredible. We changed the calendar link, and Mr. Waitley got the message that the call was canceled. So I knew something was off. So I think his daughter's going over to get him up, so he'll be here. And so that's how technology goes. Okay. And if for any reason we're a little delayed, he'll come back. Denis Waitley is like a dad to me. So can I give you a little background on him and why we have him today? First of all, does anyone know who Denis Waitley is?
Only what you've said.
Okay. So Denis Waitley is one of the original pioneers of the self-development industry. Like when you think of, does anyone know Brian Tracy or Les Brown?
With Les Brown, yeah.
John Maxwell. So all of them were mentored by Denis Waitley. And I know that because I did a tour honoring him, and many of them came on and shared how much they were impacted. So have any of you ever heard of Earl Nightingale?
Yes.
Okay, let's mute Laura because it'll keep going right back to her and I. We're having a dialogue. Thank you, love. Okay, so give it to me like this. So anyway, Earl Nightingale, after he, released and made his impact, the first person he mentored was Denis Waitley. And so Denis Waitley wrote or recorded The Psychology of Winning, and it sold more records than some of Elvis's records. I mean, it was like back when records and cassette tapes were a thing. He has mentored some of the very best, but what I want to tell you about Denis Waitley is that when I was 23 years old, okay, and I was still not too far from the girl who had lived in a boarded up home with no electricity, not too far from a girl who had already been and seen a lot of really challenging things in life. I had even lived on my own at 12 years old for a while, if that gives you a little, you can imagine a lot of things. It wasn't a house. And it was on land with other houses of family members, but I lived alone, and people could come over. And so it was, so I was still in the place of overcoming a lot of limiting beliefs, of, letting go of false identity, of breaking and dealing with generational, things, like all of us, right? Welcome to the human fabric, right? Welcome to humanity. But I had these seeds planted in me that one day life could be different for me, that it could be different for my children. And I was holding on to those seeds to the point that I had this notebook that had a heart on it, and it was red leather. And inside I wrote God's signs of high calling. And I would write down, like, maybe someone said, wow, you have a really bright personality. I think you're going to go somewhere. I'd write that down. And then maybe there wouldn't be anything else for 6 months, but somebody said, you're really kind. And and I'd write that down. And sometimes, you guys, I would be sitting alone, spiraling in negativity and feeling like, let me tell you, if you don't know my story, I was 18, living in a boarded up home with no electricity, already divorced, already the town scandal, already been through molestation, abandonment, blah, 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 lots of things. And so I would be sitting there spiraling, and I would take that notebook and I would open it, and I would hold those words so deeply and go, God does have a plan for me. They saw it in me. It means God does have a plan for me, right? And so speed it up. I read Think and Grow Rich. I'm working for Pat Summerall. And I was in that in between. Some of you have children. I call it the tween, right? Like, if you've anybody had a tween, a tweener, what happens is one moment they're like eloquent and 45 years old or 90-year-old women or men, and they're speaking truth that you're like, God's talking through you. And the next minute they're like on the floor, throwing their legs around and throwing a fit like a 3-year-old. And you're like, what is happening? And it's sort of this tween phase. And it's a very normal phase, because it would be weird to go from 5 to 18, right? So there's this in between where the future them is calling and stretching, and they're becoming, to say what Michelle said, they're becoming, but they're also still leaving in part 4-year-old, right? And it's this weird, like, natural state of being, right? And so I was in the tween, and I met Denis Waitley. And, I read Think and Grow Rich, and I wrote that I wanted to interview successful people. And I'd just been working in a nightclub 3 months before, another really kind of rock bottom moment. And now I had manifested that I was working for Pat Summerall Productions, interviewing all these successful people, right? And so I got to the point where I could call who I wanted. So I called Denis Waitley. And we didn't end up doing a show, but I had his cell phone number. And so I started going, like Sheila, give it up for Sheila, because this is where I say Sheila reminds me so much of myself at times. But I would go, how can I serve Denis? So I never called him like, Denis, here's my story. I want to be a speaker. Help me. I want to grow one day. Teach me. Nothing wrong with that. That just wasn't my thing. Instead, I was like, what can I do? I would think first. I wouldn't even ask him, what could I do? I'd go, okay, maybe I would call Success Magazine. Hey, if I could get an interview with Denis Waitley for you, would you like that? Yes, they had already interviewed him, but they said yes. And then I called Denis. Hey, Denis, if I could get an interview with Success Magazine, would that be a win? Yes. Boom, connected. They're both like, thank you. I'm like, yeah, I'm high on life because I just gave value to someone that I think is amazing. And I just kept doing that. And I started doing it with lots of different speakers. And to the point that Denis started going, Adora, what can I do for you? And I was like, I don't know. But when I know, I'll let you know, right? And so I just kept serving. So that was a lot of my early 20s. serving all these speakers and not with my own resources, but like, who could I connector? Exactly. Being a connector of resources, like many of you are. How many of you are a connector in this room? Yeah, a lot of you. I always say, like, a room full of connectors, there's not much you can't get done. So, you know, when you guys are in the networking room, level up, right? No, I'm just kidding. Because you're in a room full of connectors. You can get some stuff done in here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kind of, but anyway, so what ended up happening is that there were many moments. How many of you know, like, on your journey to success, it's like you think it's going to be like this, but it's more like a stock market on the rise, right? And so in one of those lower moments, I would be like, Denis, you know, I would just think of the fact that Denis was even taking my calls and that I was adding value to him. And he had no idea how much he was meaning to me. Just like you have no idea how much your relationship, hold on, Denis's daughter is calling, 1 second. Hello, Deborah. Yes, honey. Okay. 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 It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'll just keep loving him up and we'll send him a bunch of love. We're online right now. And okay. Okay. We'll send some prayers for him and we'll bring him back after. Okay. Thank you. So to bring in vulnerability, Denis is 92 and they are on their way to urgent care. Okay. So we're going to send some love and I'm going to continue sharing this story with you guys. Okay. In honor of the Denis Waitley. Okay. So thank you for the love. Yeah. Let's hold him. So there were many years that just the fact that Denis was taking my call was the little thread that I could hold on to between, like, I'd broken something, I messed something up, another relationship, another divorce, another, you know, something, you know, those low moments. When you're in a low moment, everything looks low and you look back and you're like, it's all the low stuff. When you're in a high moment, it's like everything looks good. It all makes sense. And you're like, that happened because I was meant to be here, right? So those low moments, it's that it would be a thread for me. Like, Denis is taking my calls, so I'm headed somewhere, right? And Denis is one of the people, because since then I've been able to work with incredible people: Bob Proctor, Les Brown, Denis Waitley, Brian Tracy, like on and on and on. I can, so many incredible people. And Denis is one of the people that is the value of kindness. Like, anybody, I mean, I've seen this guy walk through over 20 years of being a great leader and speaker, thousands of people in the audience. I've seen him walk through throat cancer in the middle of COVID. I've seen him walk through, and consistently, he is one of the most kind human beings in the planet. So if you ever look him up, you're going to see crazy accolades, like board of psychologists on the US Olympics, you know, advisor to one of the Reagan families, to some of the top coaches in the world, like some of the things we know about the power of success and visualizing. But what's more important to me is the human that Denis Waitley is, which was one of the kindest. It's going to make me emotional. It's love, right? It's love. One of the kindest human beings that you will ever meet, to anybody that he meets. Doesn't matter if it's the waiter, you know, or a girl like me, and consistently kind. It takes a lot to be consistently kind over 20 something years in lots of different environments. And so, okay, thank you for the love. And I am receiving all of your love, and we're sending it out to him as well. And so when I think about legacy, and Brianna's talked about this before, that legacy is, it is something that you leave behind because, but Dennis will often say it's what you leave in them. John Maxwell says that too, right? Not what you give to them, but it is how you live your life, and how we be in life as we're going after our intentions and after. And it was his kindness more than any quote. And he is one of the most quoted men on the planet, but it is his kindness and his way of being. And you know what's wild is that right now, I have felt, and Dennis will tell you that I'm a goddaughter to him, or like a daughter to him. He's like a father to me. But I'm going to tell you, I've hosted him in so many rooms, and there are so many people that just like me feel like the most important person to him, and like they have a super special, outrageous, different relationship, which we do. We have some book deals together now and things like that. But so we were going to bring Dennis on today. First, let me just take a moment because, you know, I'm still trying to move the room, but I'm also really moved, right? So hold on. Yeah. And it's perfect, right? It's perfect to be on Valentine's Day, especially when you see what I hold up now. Okay, so I'm not going to focus on lessons because there are a lot of lessons in this right now. What I'm going to focus on is that there was a time, so I'm telling you how Dennis stood for me, all of that, or he didn't even know he was standing for me, right? Like you, like people in your life that you don't know what your friendship, your attention, your kind word, your 1 minute, you don't know who you're helping hold vision, move through life, who you're helping become and belong and feel less alone, and like the vision planted in them could possibly one day, like that little glimmer that's calling, that becomes eventually a grander truth that you stand in and a light. Dennis is that person and is one of the most, I call him one of the great loves of my life, because he really is one of the great loves of my life. And because of relationship with Denis Waitley, and he was so respected, it opened doors to all those other relationships. Les Brown, Bob Proctor, all those other people, because they loved it. So that's also the power of being in relationship, even though that wasn't my initial intention. So I want you to imagine now, 2000, so COVID, Denis Waitley was faced with throat cancer, which is a big deal for someone who's known for his voice and for listening and for using his words. And I remember that when I would listen to Denis, and when I do this with anyone, I would listen for where the energy lifts in his voice, right? Where so people tell you something, but if they lift with their kids or they lift with the vacation, then you know what they're excited about. And I also knew Denis taught me so much about the power of vision and positivity, and like that he really was protective of his vision. And so I was trying to feed his vision, and I was listening. And so Roy Smooth, Jimmy, we did a collab with Roy Smooth on an album, and we were gonna like, it's where, you know, you put music and then you hear a success quote in the background. And so we were going to outdo like Tina Turner and the charts, and it made him laugh. And it was like exciting to him. He was like, my kids are going, Pap, I didn't know you were in music. You know, what's happening? And so I put all my attention on, okay, we're going to get this album out, because I wanted to feed his vision, to feed the endorphins, to get him out of the hospital. And like, because he taught me that, right? And so we did we did that. And then Les Brown asked to interview him in his thing. So I hosted that, and, you know, we saw them banter and go back and forth, and it was different than those guys in performance mode, right? It was magical. The whole room was crying. It was so it inspired another idea. He wrote The New Psychology of Winning, and that was the next thing that he was excited about. And so I decided to do a tour, the new psychology of winning, and each day to bring a different person to honor him, which Denis never, he's very humble, not a sales guy, doesn't, you know, and he's very about other people. And so Brian Tracy, I'll never forget Brian Tracy's arms like this, like, Denis, I love you, you're my hero, you know. And it was just person after person after person, you know, honoring my mentor, and to get to sit there and be like, remember the girl that I was in a boarded up shack, you know, thinking of having any kind of impact in the world like that, and getting to then stand with someone who had been outrageously impactful to me, outrageously impactful professionally, and more important than professionally, my value as a human being, my right to exist, my right to dream, just by being in relationship with me. It wasn't the magic words. And I want you to get that too, right? Because it's who we're being more than what we're saying, how we're getting it right, because he is one of the most prolific people verbally, but it wasn't those prolific words. It was the energy of kindness, of presence, of you matter, that brought a sense of wholeness and stabilization to my nervous system, you know. And we do that for people, and it is more important than any amazing word. But to sit there and see my mentor receiving all of this love and admiration in one of the toughest periods of his life, he told me, this is like, I thought I was being tough before, but this is the toughest. And to get to do that was like full circle and outrageous. And so the last 3 years, and I'll read these comments in a moment and then bring it to you guys, and we'll bring in, I really imagine we'll bring Denis back here to be with you all later. But and I'm just gonna send wholeness and health, and see him smiling, and see us like talking later and getting to you know, have a moment of joy together. But even in COVID, the thing he was talking about is, he said, I want to do my greatest work, and people won't get it because this isn't the Denis that they know. And he said he wanted to write The Psychology of Loving. And he wanted to talk about, he's known for words. So anyway, I have to take my screen off, I think, to show you this. So let me get this off. Video settings. Where do I remove that background? Backgrounds and effects, and none. Okay. So he had been talking for years about the psychology of loving, and that it would be visual, and impact you with the beautiful words, and that it would be like a kaleidoscope. It took him so many different artists because no one really got it, and the book agents didn't give it. And he was talking about all the different kinds of love, that there are a lot of different kinds of love. So here's one. If you live to be 100, I want you to live to be 100 minus 1 day, so I never have to live without you, Winnie the Pooh. And then he has like this beautiful little baby in there. But so he has these, there are different stories. Don't wait until it's too late. Loving is acting in this moment, and it's, you know, a father and the child. So the whole book is different stories of love, of animals, elephants finding their children, of all the different types of love and what they mean in the world. And as I think about that, and all the different types of love in the world, It's an honor on Denis Waitley to celebrate one of the greatest loves of my life and one of the most significant mentors, friends, human beings, and again, I have had the privilege and continue to get to have the privilege of working with some of the greatest minds, the greatest humans on the planet. And I haven't met one yet that has been so deeply personally impactful to me because we're in relationship, but and that is the legacy I want to live too, where my kindness, where my heart, where my way of how I leave people feeling about themselves when they're in my presence. I want to live that kind of legacy too. And Denis is someone who at 92 years old has powerfully been that in every atmosphere in every arena. And I was really hopeful that we would have him here today, and we will. Everything is perfect. His book is on Audible. It's on Audible right now, and the print was supposed to be out now, but it won't be out until Mother's Day. So you can listen to it on Audible, and it's not going to be the same as the visual, but he's put gorgeous music in there. And what a lot of people don't know about Denis Waitley, unless you know him, is that he grew up listening to a radio. All the kids would sit around a radio. So he's very, very, very audible and loves music. And we have that in common. I'm very audio, or I'm, so anyway, thank you for sharing this moment with me and hearing the story of impact. And I hope that we'll open it up for some comments and things, but I would say whether you ever listen to him or hear anything by him, that what I'm talking about and what is most important is how we're loving, and there are lots of different types of love, and that, whoever you've got in your life, I love Sherry Perry got it from Bob, is like, what are you doing with the people that God's given you? What are we doing with the people that God's given us? And who are we being in the world? And on today is a day where a lot of people have different feelings about, am I single? Am I together? Am I happy in my relationship? But there are so many different types of love. And ultimately at our base, I believe we are love, and yeah, I'm celebrating that and celebrating my mentor and celebrating the rollout of all this together. And thank you for just holding the space. I didn't read the chat, but thank you for holding the space with me and all the love. Yeah, and that's all I got right now. I could give lessons, I could give things, but I'm in my woo. So our essence is love. Okay, does anyone want to comment or share, say anything? Raise your hand. I see I've covered a hand, so let's go, Abigail.
First of all, I've been sitting here praying for you.
Oh.
Peace of God that passes all understanding, guard your heart and mind. And because you know how to think, I get that because of the words coming out of your mouth. I know you got this. And I'm joining my faith with yours. You said two things. What are you leaving them with? That really struck me because we all come out to give something. And sometimes people take it, sometimes not. But what are you leaving them with? That was so impactful. And what are you doing with the people God has given you? I was in a room this morning with people the Lord has given me, and I prayed. I thank Him for them. I thank Him for giving me to them. And I thank Him for releasing through me the things that He has set me here to leave them with. And I have never heard of Denis Waitley. I have heard of Earl Nightingale because I am that old. And I will go look for him now. Seeing him through your eyes has impacted me and given me someone else to go and glean from. And I know I will see him in this room speaking life to us, in us, through us. And thank you. Thank you for what you've given us.
Thank you, Abigail. Thank you so much. Sheila.
Just want to express gratitude to you, Adora, for choosing me and being my Denis Waitley, because you are the kindest person I've met. And thank you for sharing yourself and your vision with all of us to take us with you, because you're truly paying it forward and it's making a huge difference. So thank you for being you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. Love you. Annie.
Yes, I share the sentiments with you also, Adora. I picked one. I want you to celebrate also with Denis because the legacy that you're talking about, he's actually seeing it flourishing whilst he's still alive. That's something that many people don't have a chance. So he is actually living it right now. He's enjoying seeing you flourishing. So that's really amazing. And another point that I picked from you, the different kinds of love. Something that I never noticed or even think about. So I would take that with me and I'm going to celebrate all the love. Someone in the chat already said we are sending 50 messages to our friends and family saying we love you. So this is coming from you.
Oh,
Thank
what
you.
a great idea. That should be the CTA today, that we send out 50. She said 50 and we're not average. Most people do 5. We're going to do 50 messages to people we love. And I know we got enough on InstaFace. Thank you for that, Annie. That is so beautiful. Thank you. Dr. Andrea.
I am still very emotional, and my daughter was asking why I'm crying. So she want to say something. I don't know. Are you going to say something?
Hello, you all. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
And just say, Adora, that you really touched our hearts. And that now we are his legacy. This is my take. We are his legacy through your eyes, your heart. And this is very beautiful. And I go further. The Divas movement is his legacy. That's it. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah. Awesome. Anybody else have some? Yes, Laura.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand virtually, so I just keep doing it. Recently, somebody said something to me that I've started saying to other people. I put it in the chat, but can disappear. He said, thank you for existing. Either said thank you for existing or thank you for your existence. But what I got from it was, when we say I love you, or, it's so easy to not hear it freshly. But to have somebody be grateful for my existence, it was a beautiful new way of feeling valued. And so I'm offering that to us as we send our greetings out on Valentine's. I think people will be struck for a moment because we exist as a function of who we are being. It's not our life itself, but it's who we be with this life that we have. So.
And you be radiant. You're just beautiful. Yes, that's gorgeous. Yes, Melanie, thank you. Thank you, Laura. Uh-oh, Melanie's frozen. So Melanie will stay with you, but Tasha, while we're waiting on Melanie to unmute and unfreeze.
I just want to say, even imagine this morning, just by being your authentic self and who you are and sharing your heart with us and someone that's so special to you. And I just wanted to say out loud that I'm grateful to be here with all of you, that I love you all. So that's 28 people. I think, I don't know how many, 27 people 26 people that I just told in my son. So that's already half. But seriously, like, you are just so incredibly special. And I just want to thank you for everything that you do, for holding space, for learning from this man, for planting your seeds and realizing, you know, the impact that you can and do and will have on the world. And that this ministry is so profound that he's personally, physically not here sharing it, but how much of him you are sharing through him. And I mean, through you, how much of him that is being shared through you, that you have absorbed, that you have integrated, that has come through your cells. And this is ancestral legacy.
Calling.
So thank
One
you.
second, he's calling. Hi, Dennis. I know you would never do that to me. I know. We're still on, just so you know, Mr. Waitley, we're listening. I mean, I'm on talking to you, but we're on live right now. So I don't mean to be sure. I just want you to know. You're coming? Right now, Dennis is coming into the room right now. Dennis is coming into the room right now. Okay, good. Okay. He was like, I would never do that to you. It was okay, good. We're good. Yes, while we're waiting on him. Good, Abigail. Prayers answered. Whoa. All right, let's go. Tasha, yes.
Well, with that being said, I just want to say happy Valentine's to all you beautiful ladies and all you debonair gentlemen that supports us and that is pushing for us. It's so great to hear that news. And so one of the things that came up was the seeds. And can I just share with you the power of the seeds and you being so transparent and loving on us on purpose with and without our permission? We will continue the legacy, the strength to face challenges, empowering resilience, excellence to strive for greatness, determination to never give up, and success to achieve our dreams. That's the ripple effect that Denis Waitley, 92 years, has made. And through you, you are making in our lives. So thank you so much.
I love you. Thank you, Brianne. Look at my energy now. I'm like, yeah.
I love your energy. I was just going to say that it actually made me start thinking of who I desire to make sure I extend love to today, to make sure that as you give it to me, as you give it to everyone, thank you. And I want to continue that. But I also wanted to add, I wanted to add an and to that. It's easy to love the loving. And so as I was sitting here thinking about who I wanted to text, I really have been working really hard this year of standing in agape love. And so I started thinking about, there's some people in my life that are hard to love and they need it the most. And so out of those 50, I really want to live with intentionality of saying, just because maybe they're not loving yet doesn't mean that they don't deserve it. And so I really want to make sure I extend so much love today to those that are hard to love in my life.
I love that so much. And adding to what you're saying and what Adora said. So, I mean, just even when you go to the grocery store, rather than being on your phone or the things, if you just stop and make eye contact with the person, you'll watch how they it startles them sometimes. And then if you ask, how are you? Been busy today? How's it going? They're like the kindness, and then what you're saying about people that are harder to love usually need a lot of love, right? Anything else?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you for putting me in a space that I can be intentional with my love and kindness today. And you pour so heavy into everyone. And so I hope that you feel it back. I hope that you're just filled today.
So filled. And I didn't plan this, but I think how cool that we got to think about love without, I mean, I knew we would be thinking about that with Dennis, but it brought it out in floods. It brought out beingness. And look at that. Dennis, Waitley, okay, I'm gonna calm it down a little. Let's spotlight Dennis and Adora, please, for a moment. And Dennis. Where's Dennis? There we go. And Adora. You're muted, sir. You are muted. And I turned off my video somehow. You're muted. Dennis, or maybe you guys hear. Do you guys hear him? Okay, wait a moment. Ask to unmute. Let's see. Dennis, I think you're muted. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah, he's
there
muted.
you are. Oh, he muted. Let's see.
I am unmuted,
There you go. There you go.
but I don't know how loud I am.
Oh, that's all right. You're perfect. Everybody can hear you.
Well, I probably can't hear them because I didn't have time to put a hearing aid in, so you're going to have to talk loud.
All right. I've got a loud voice, so we're good. Thank you so much for making it. We apologize for whatever message you got that this was off. I told everyone you're always early, so no need to say. What do you want to say about the psychology of loving as we're on Valentine's Day?
Well, I've worked on this book for 4 years, and I had it all designed 2 years ago, and the designer passed away with all the designs inside his computer, and they were never able to open his computer. So I started all over again with a wonderful woman designer. And so it's a 4-year project that has taken much longer, but it's the biggest part of my heart because it contains everything I've ever thought about love for the last 85 years anyway, when I was old enough to love my mother and to love. So I think I've studied love as much as anyone else. We used to have Dr. Love. There were some doctors that were focusing on love, and they were some of my friends. And lately, there hasn't been as many men who've had the kind of heart that women do. It's interesting, on Valentine's Day, a man usually buys his partner something nice, but she is stealing the love, and he's giving her something like a gift, something he thinks he should give her. And that's not true with all men, but I've found that there are very few men who are brave enough to be sentimental and not have it necessarily be a feminine quality only. So I've always been sentimental. I've got tears in my eyes in a chick flick. So when I see Sleepless in Seattle, I just wipe the tears away a little bit and then say, must be a smoker in here, or they must have something in the air. And every time I see the American flag, sure, I'm an ex-Navy pilot in another career, and I put my hand over my heart, so I'm a patriot, but I'm also deeply, deeply in love with life. And after all, love is all there is, after all. And so I've learned at the age of 92, it's all about love. There's no hate because I love life. I look for the light where people are in the darkness, where they hate other people. I look for what the answer is. And I'm always sensitive to other people's feelings rather than trying to push my own agenda very much. And there are so many different kinds of love, as we talked about, in the book. And I don't promote my own books at all, but there are so many kinds of love. There's the love that is prevalent in today's society, which is making love. Whoa, she is so hot, or he is so hot, or oh boy, I'd like to jump their bones, or whatever they say. And that kind of love is eros. It's erotic love and it's physical manifestation. It's Freudian love and sexual love, really important, very important in a relationship. However, that's only the spice on top of the cake. The real love comes in the looking at somebody and going in the same direction, having totally independent thoughts, but being able to merge that into people who care for one another and put themselves into taking care of the other person, not out of need, but out of want. And then there's the love for the little children. There's nothing greater than a mother's love for her child. That's the greatest love of all, because that bond starts at the instant, not even at birth, even before birth. I've been in programs where I've had pregnant women talk to their baby quietly and affirm to their baby. I've even had people read wonderful little stories to their baby while they're still in the womb. And there's been a correlation between that baby's demeanor and also the baby's vocabulary, having heard his mother or her mother talking to them while they're still in the womb. So those are really, and of course, there's love for animals. I don't know, I don't think I've loved anything more than my dog. My dog, DJ, would wait up on top of the hill, and when my car would come pretty close, he'd run down the hill. I'd open up the passenger window, and he'd leap through the passenger window. And he brought me the morning paper without being taught. And he did all these things, and then a pickup truck hit him, and he was killed. And I had come home from an event. I was in a tuxedo. It was pouring rain. And I remember more than anything else of taking my dog up on top of the hill in a tuxedo in the rain and burying him with his dish and his leash and his favorite toy. And that was one of the saddest days of my life, where I was sobbing, just sobbing over this person, this dog that was part of the family. So we have love for animals, we have love for God, we have love for country, we have love for each other, we have love for other nations, we have love for, and animals have love for humans, believe it, and they have love for each other, and they also have love for animals of a different species. So I've seen a mother kitty take care of baby ducks. And if you want to see something really weird, you see little teeny baby ducks suckling on a cat. Although ducks don't drink milk, they were on the little suction nipples there, along with the other little kitties, because they took the cat as their mother. And of course, that bonding takes place immediately. So there are all these kinds of love. And I believe I've felt virtually every one of them. Love of creation, but especially between humans. I can't imagine hating anything. I'm sad. I'm compassionate. I worry like other people, but I try to flip every situation into, well, what's the answer? What should my response be? I take a deep breath, and then I begin to get countenance, and I say, what can I do in this moment that will make this situation better? Is there anything I can do? Sometimes it's just to sit and listen. Sometimes it's just to hold and touch a person's shoulder. Sometimes it's just to sit there and hold their hand. Sometimes it's to give them encouragement. but I will never say anything to anybody that I feel will demean them or make them feel less in my presence. And that to me is what love is all about. And I just like to say one other thing. I've taken the word love over the years and made it into a 4-letter word. And of course, it's the greatest 4-letter word ever created. But L is to listen unconditionally to what another person is saying without prejudgment. O is to overlook their flaws and their faults. And in other words, instead of looking for their blemishes, look for their the blessings instead of the blemishes. So O is to overlook the faults. V is to voice your approval and voice your good thoughts about them as often. It's to give them praise when deserved, specific praise. So L to listen, O to overlook, V to voice, but the last one, E, is the most important. E in love is to make the effort to be there in person. Not a text, not an email, not even a letter, but to show up, to be there for a recital, for a rehearsal, for a practice. I'm not talking about to be there for the wedding, for the engagement, for the final, for the Super Bowl. I'm talking about being there in the wings, and a person needs your confidence. And they look in the wings or in the audience and they see you. And you're in the hospital and nobody else is there but a nurse. And she or he shows up. And a friend that makes the effort to be there in person as often as possible, someone else, is the ultimate act of love for me. You're sacrificing your time, what you're doing, you're giving it up, and you're making the decision to be with somebody that's very important to you. And after all said and done, there's probably only about 10 people. You can take off your shoes and maybe get the toes as well, but there's maybe 10 people in the world who feel that way about you and who will be there for you no matter what. All you need to do is make the call and say, I need you now. And that, for me, is what real love is, to just cast aside everything else because of one person. So that's my soliloquy. I should have been on at 9 o'clock. And again, I don't like to take somebody else's time, but I guess at 92, the reason I'm alive is I love life so much. I can't imagine not being alive. I can't imagine not hearing or not seeing or feeling or touching. Now, Adora knows I cannot taste, I cannot chew, I cannot swallow food. I have no saliva. I have absolutely, you could put anything in my mouth and I can't taste it. Oh, but God has given me the great gift of being able to smell. So the torture that I have in life is to be able to smell fragrance. I can smell flowers, coffee, fish, everything wonderful, but I can't taste anything. And the way you know how important some things are is that you must taste bitter to know what sweet tastes like. You must have the bitter to know what sweet is. You must have the loss in order to know how great it was at the time. But anyway, on Valentine's Day, I'm just bubbling with love. I was so upset that when I got the word that it was canceled, I said, well, I mean, Adora wouldn't do that without letting me know, but we probably didn't have enough people that wanted to be involved in this today. I made that assumption. And so when I woke up with some pain, I decided to go down to the emergency room and get a little shot, but I feel fine.
That's good. I was like, they're like, Dennis, anyway, doesn't matter. You're here now and you are bubbling with love. And I got to share a little bit about your background and all that you've seen, and that the psychology of loving is something unlike you've ever done. And I know we all know we can't get it till Mother's Day on Audible. We can listen to some things, but as someone who you've been sought after for the psychology of winning and success and seeds of success, and have written so many books and have been mentored, and many people consider you their mentor. Why this artistic expression? Why at this time? Why is it the greatest work?
You know, I think it takes wisdom doesn't come early. You know, intelligence does and success does. And I guess I finally realized that striving to be known, striving to be loved, striving to be an influencer, striving to be somebody in the eyes of other people, that's built in. That's human nature, is to want to be somebody that is recognized for who they are and feels valuable. And that's what being loved is all about. However, I now realize that I spent an awful lot of time trying to get that nirvana, trying to get to that elusive thing at the top, which doesn't exist, which is immortality as a person who will always be remembered by everyone around them. That's very interesting. I've been a spokesperson for a major networking company for 30 years. And that's like Jim Rohn did with Herbalife. And I called, so I've been gone there for 5 years. I've been retired. And I called their offices, and nobody there remembers ever hearing about me. So when I called, I said, "Hi, this is Denis Waitley." And they said, "So whose downline are you in?" I said, No, I used to be the spokesperson for the company. And they said, what do you mean, spokesperson? I said, well, I used to be the one that was selling the company all over the world for 25 years and traveling everywhere and being on stage before thousands of people. They said, we didn't know that. And I said, oh, yeah, that's right. It's been 5 years. So usually it takes about that much time to go back to being invisible again. But I think the thing to learn is that you really need to be in the moment, every moment, and not live for that moment. In other words, don't live for the success, the prize, the prize. You must always keep the prize in your eyes and go for it all. And this is not contrary to being a diva and to be a powerful woman in your own right, and to live out loud and to dance to your own tune. It has nothing to do with that. I think the realization is that as you're doing all the things you're doing every day, you got to be loving it. I mean, you got to be loving. When you wake up, you got to say, man or woman, what a great day. Another day in which to make somebody else happy. And in my opinion, and Einstein backed me up, he said, strange is our situation here on earth. We're here for just a little while, not knowing exactly why we're here or how it all happened. But it seems to me, he said, that we're here to make the world a little better because we existed. We're here to make one life breathe easier. We're here to make our footprint. If we're going to put our footprint on the sands of time, why wouldn't that be going forward to make the world in which we were gifted life better? So for me, it's all about creating other people and making other people happy with my own values. If I can use what I've learned and my value to make another person's life brighten up, and I've had to do that when parents have had their little boy when he was 2 years old, die in the swimming pool. Can you just imagine two parents with a 2-year-old, and they're telling me the story about their little boy, and it was only 5 minutes. It was just a phone call that they just missed it. And they said, how could we possibly overcome this grief? And I said, you can't. But what you can do is you can live a much better life and make whatever he or she meant to you so important. That happened to me. Another very important thing for me is my best friend was killed. We were both Navy pilots, and he was killed, and his wife was 9 months pregnant with their baby. And I had to tell his wife that he had just been killed. And then she and I went up to bury what was his remains, and she looked at me and she said, oh, Denis, you are so positive. You are so enlightened. Tell me, please tell me, what's one reason that I should feel good about what's happening today? And I put my arm around Nancy Litzenberg and I said, I have to be twice the man that I was, because I have to live for him and me, because he was my best friend. I have to be twice the man that I was ever going to be. You have to be twice the woman, and the product of your union, your little baby, I want to be the godparent to that baby, and I want to be twice the godparent that I could be, so that I could take the friendship that we had, that we lost, and bring that into the next generation. And I think that's where success is for me. Success is the little things now. It's really being in that moment and engaged in the moment, not knowing whether there's tomorrow. We know there's yesterday, but yesterday is for me to learn from and have my pleasant memories. And tomorrow is yet dawn, but it will come. But there's only this one moment. That's why I'm so glad to be on the call. This is it for me. This is the moment. This is where I love. This is where I want to be. And I want to love each of you in my own way and give you one idea, one thought, one momentary thought, to be in the moment every day, because it becomes history and it's not there. So that's when people come to my house, and Adora knows this, I have 25 people twice a year that come and pay $5,000. I don't know why they would. I certainly wouldn't pay $5,000 to come and see me, because I would rather see the early me, the dynamic me, the guy that was on stage with Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and Norman Vincent Peale and all the speakers getting up there. But I'm a different kind of guy. So when they come, they say, please tell us what you've learned. And I say, what I've learned is you never want to say, if I could live my life again, I would have done this. Because the truth is, at the time that you make every decision, it is in the moment. And you make a momentary decision every minute of your life. And that decision as to how you spend your time in that moment determines to a great degree what's going to happen next. And many things are out of our control. But the one thing that is in our control is anticipation and then decision. And we should make our decisions based on the information we have at hand, but we should take a deep breath and say, if I do this, can I stand the losing it all? Can I stand the fear? Can I stand the judgment of other people? And the answer, of course, is yes, because life is temporal in that sense. But I think on Valentine's Day, I'd just like to say is, if you can, love every minute that you're in it, and exude that love, And that's all I've done in my life. And it's been very good for me because I've been able to make a fortune and remain unknown. Now, I mean that seriously. I can go anywhere in the world and be anonymous and not be interrupted, not be asked for an autograph, not have people hanging or people taking pictures. So I can do anything, go anywhere, say anything as an independent, private person. And that's much better than having the love of 100,000 or 1 million fans on YouTube and having people hanging on every word. It's much more important to be able to have a circle of friends and know that what you're doing every day is helping make the world a better place, especially on Valentine's Day.
Is to celebrate the circle, the people that you love, and that you've been able to create your own independence and time with them, that's the most important.
But I do have one takeaway for people trying to get ahead. I think it's important to have an agent. And I've had people come to me and say, how do you be an agent? I said, well, an agent is someone who helps you do what you want to do as their profession. In other words, they want to help you. So I've never had to promote myself because it's always been an agent. It's been a publisher. It's been a number of publishers. Simon Schuster, Nightingale Conant. I can name 20 agents that I've had. And throughout my career, I've never once had to hold up anything and say, this is the deal of the day. This is my new book. This is me. I've always had somebody else say, and I'd like to introduce to you now, like Adora does for me so well. Yeah, Adora does that. So I've always,
our agent.
and I've always been able to then stand there and say, well, I really appreciate that. And I've always had a master of ceremonies or the marketing manager or whoever is bringing me in to speak. They do the pitch. They do the story. I remain my humble, gosh, gee whiz, Bob Newhart kind of guy. The guy that just happened to stumble onto the set. And it's been so good for me because I've not had to do what my peers do, is stand up and sell. And I know if I were talking to a speaker who wanted to be a great speaker, I would tell them that even though it's a different world in which you have to sell yourself up through the noise with all the influence, we have a different world that we live in now. But I would still find somebody that was promoting myself, so you don't have to be a self-promoter. You can really be a pure teacher, a pure leader, or a pure lover. You don't have to sell yourself as much as you think you do. I would recommend that because I think it makes more credibility. And as you all know, there are 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 coaches who say, if you buy my stuff, you'll have six-figure income in 6 months. And that's a story that's being told. Who is the greatest coach? Who has the best stuff? And of course, people begin to realize that they're really going to be paying you about $5,000 to $10,000. So there's kind of a bottom line there to the story that you tell. If you can tell your story without there always needing to be that bottom line, and have somebody else be saying, and this is, Microsoft does this with me. So Microsoft takes me to China. I speak before 1,000 people or 500 people in Microsoft. And then the vice president gets up there and say, Dennis wouldn't tell you this, but we asked him to bring a library in the other room. And he said that he would be happy to stay long enough to explain what they're about and even sign them for you. And I just agree to that without having to say yes. And my newest thing is, and by the way, you know, so I'm not constantly trying to sell what I'm selling. You only sell you. The decision of the buyer is based on the value of the seller. And I think it's good to have an agent.
Yeah, let's go ahead and bring it to the group right now. And that I can say, having worked with Denis for 20 years, there have been times we tried to put an offer or a sell or like help. And Denis was like, listen, I've spent all my life not doing that, and I'm not about to do it now. And you're not gonna. And
No, but and I know the world has changed a lot. You know, it really has. And you know, in the age of AI and the digital age, you know, you really have to make some noise. And I just think if you make it in a little more Valentine's way, that it'll make this, you know what, and I want to apologize for being so late, and I hope I haven't taken
you're good. No, I
somebody
want to, if
important's
you have
time.
time, if you have time, I'd like a few people to be able to ask a question. If you have time, if not, it's okay.
No, I do. You want to take a little break now?
Yeah, I want to let a few people ask questions.
Sure.
Okay, and before we do that, what he's talking about is collaboration. So even how you all are interviewing each other, or it's a much softer thing when someone else edifies, someone else makes the offer, and you can just come deliver. So you can do that in collaboration. So some people love sales, like Denis's friend, longtime friend was Zig Ziglar, who would sell a lot, and they would have banter about that. And some people align with an agent, or into collaborations, and I think that's wonderful advice. Okay, who wants to ask a question? Raise your hand. Jimmy Azell, do you have a question? Yes, Salani.
So my question is,
Hi.
oh, hey, my question is,
Wow.
I know you mentioned that you are able to make the impact and yet being, I call it flying under the radar. Like you can still have your privacy and not being interrupted. So how did you do that? I'm so curious.
Denis, did you hear her?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I made a decision. I've always been I'm an extroverted introvert. So I don't like to schmooze at parties, and it's the funniest thing. I'm in a business where you're in front of thousands of people, but I prefer to go off the stage through the back door and then maybe with a small group and just talk. So I have never bought into the idea of being rich and famous. Rich, enriched, yes, but famous, no. And I think that's because I know that fame is an illusion, and it's like drinking salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. So I've been able to do that by not taking advantage of the opportunities to be front and center with a lot of people at a lot of events. And as we talked about, Tony Robbins, I've known since he was 17 years old. And so I've seen him when he was selling tickets for Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn, I've been around because he sits on a stool with his glasses. Zig Ziglar and I traveled for many years. So take all the great speakers, I've been around them, and I just happen to have a different personality. And my personality is to always try to be at the level of the audience. And I'm able to do that by always making fun of myself. And I've had people say, you're risking this, Denis, because they think that you don't have enough self-esteem and that you're waffling. I said, no, actually, my self-esteem is so strong that I don't have to tout it. I don't have to exaggerate it. I don't have to jump around the stage. I can be me. So it's an authenticity based upon your own personality. And I've been able to stay under the radar by always being the kind of person that pulls the chair out for somebody else. I have to say one other thing. I can't tell you the number of times when people have asked me to help them to their car because they think I work for the hotel. And they think that I'm somebody that works in the facility rather than the guy that was the keynote speaker, because I'm always smiling and being helpful. So I don't act like an icon. I act like a normal person. And I think Clint Eastwood is one of my heroes, well, mainly because he's 94 and he's still hanging in and directing. But I think he's unassuming, and I like to be unassuming. And that way I can stay under the radar because I'm not trying to promote myself as much as I could. I could have made a lot more money, but I think I made enough.
Dr. Andrea.
Yes, thank you very, very much for this Valentine's gift. I would like to ask you if you would do something different in your life, what would it be? With all the wisdom, all the lessons that you have now.
Yeah, Nora, could you?
Yes, if you could do something.
No, I can't hear you now.
Can you hear me?
If you could do something different in your life with all the wisdom and lessons, what would it be?
What would the greatest wisdom I've learned?
No, if you could do anything different in your life now that you have all this wisdom, what would it be?
It would be that I would have spent more time playing with my children than watching athletes play. Instead of watching other people making money, having fun in their profession, I would have been more engaged in the here and now. And as I've matured from my early years, I would have been there more in the moment with my children, laughing and playing, because now they've flown away and they have their own lives and they love me just as much and I love them. But oh, how I'd like to be playing with my children again. So I think with all the wisdom I've learned, please, as you go along, those little moments are the most important ones, because at the end, really, people will miss you, the ones who love you. But what you've accomplished will not remain a historical Trump Tower. It will probably disappear. So that's why it's so important to enjoy the little moments, especially with family and friends.
Mark, and speak up. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, mine is not really a question, but deep appreciation for this network, for DIVA, and specifically for Denis. Before Denis came on, I find it odd calling him Denis. We're used to Mr. and Grandpa, and I don't know, all the more beautiful, appropriate words. Is to say thank you. His answer, it's funny. I have to find the books, but he's answered questions that I've asked myself since 1994. I lost my dad, I was about 14. And there's questions you can't seem to find the right person to ask. And so while listening to him, every other minute, there was an answer, every other minute. And one of the key ones was really around, because I'm a private businessman, and so there's a lot of engagements that you want to have with all manner of people in all different kinds of spaces. And so you get to a point where you ask yourself, should I push harder than this, in a sense that, should I speak up? Should I especially the last response that he had around being able to know that you have the answer or that you have the solution, and there's no need to really exert yourself over someone or over a bunch of people, be it business partners, be it industry peers, or like you mentioned, very importantly, you're at a hotel and you have to speak to any one of the staffers within the hotel, playing golf, whichever thing it is.
Yeah.
And so,
Great.
because I had no one to trust to ask such a very critical question, I always questioned myself instead, and I would like, Mark, you're a weak chap. You don't have to speak with a caddy who is carrying your bags. I think that's weak. How come all your buddies don't speak to the caddies? But then still, I would hang back, talk to the caddy, and I'm like, come on, this is my mate and all that. So yeah, just to say thank you for the many answers that I've gotten.
I'm gonna
Sure.
jump in because one, I'm not sure if
Yeah.
he's hearing all of that, and I want to kind of recap and allow for more.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Dennis, did you hear all of that?
I tried to, but I couldn't interpret as well.
Okay, so the main thing is he has been asking himself questions since 1994 that you answered. Like every other minute you were speaking and it opened something for him. He lost his dad at 14. And so he's been looking for answers for a long time. And you gave a lot of those answers. And also, you validated a lot of things because he talks to people that other people don't talk to because they're trying to show status, but he shows kindness. So your example is giving him a lot of answers, and he's looking forward to reading your books, and he's very grateful.
Very good. Well, what I really have to say as an answer to that is that we're so unique, each of us, in our own clay. So it didn't do me any good to try to be like Zig Ziglar, because Zig would get down on one knee and look at somebody, and Zig would say, "You've got my money in your pocket, and I've got your books and tapes up here in this bag. And if you've got cash and 2 references, I'll give you your books if you give me my money, and I'll meet you in the back and sign them." And everybody laughed because this is Zig Ziglar. He used to sell pots and pans and sandwiches, and that's the way he is. And so each of us has a different way of manifesting the value that we have inside. And I think there's a little book that you could see for your children. It's called Hope for the Flowers by, I think her name is Trina Paulus, Paulos, Hope for the Flowers. And very quickly, they're caterpillars, and there are millions of them. And the caterpillars are all asking each other, how do you get to the top? And the other one says, you climb that pillar. And so they're caterpillar pillars, and they're squiggling and wiggling, and they're all climbing up this caterpillar tower. And there are caterpillar towers all over the place, but they climb up. And this female caterpillar, and she says, I don't know why we're doing this. Why are we doing this? He says, be quiet. We're all doing it, and that's what you do. You get there till you get to the top. And she says, yeah, but we're hurting other people, and they're falling. We're stepping on them to get to the top. We're climbing over others. He says, I know, but that's what you do in life. She said, I'm not going to do that. So she came down and spun a cocoon and turned into a beautiful butterfly, and she's flying around, and he's still climbing up the pillar, and he finally gets to the top. And what's on top, as far as the eye can see, are millions of other caterpillar pillars. There's nothing at the top. So what I've learned in my life is when you're striving for something, make sure that your why grabs you so deep in the soul and heart that you do it just for food. In fact, you do it and you take a loan on it just because you're betting on yourself. But this ethereal thing called success is a fleeting illusion. It's an event, not a person. I've never met a success. I've met people who have been living successfully. And so I think the realization to maintain humility and to maintain that ability to always be seeking to help someone will give you the basic values that will outlast any problem. And I've had quite a few, believe it or not, even more lately. I can't seem to get rid of the lung cancer or the cancer in my throat, and I can't seem to overcome these. However, people say, "How do you feel?" And I always say, "Well, better than I deserve, and I'm probably in the best health I'll ever be in at 92." So anyway, I like what he said, because as an individual, you must find that within you and dust off your childhood. When you were 14, think back. You're 14 years old. You go to school. What did you like? What did you not like? What did you like after school? As you got older, what did you enjoy most? In fact, what do you enjoy most doing on weekends? And if you had $20 million and had achieved what you said you achieved, what would you be doing with your life right now? And I'm realizing that I'm doing with my life what I would be doing no matter what. I'm still doing what I've always done, which is to try to help people be a little better. I don't want to make a long answer to
No,
that.
it's okay. We've got 4 hands raised. So can you give me kind of a idea of how much more time we have with you? Because we are in the moment with you and hanging on every word. So can you give me a gauge of how much time you have left?
Let me look and see what time it is here.
It's 11:02 there.
I probably have about 8 or 9 minutes.
Okay, so team, I'm gonna let Brianne go first, mainly because she's bringing a lot of value to you as a community that we're not paying for, and she's very high ticket. So I'm gonna bring her
Really
first.
fast.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I have these little hearing aids. So as a Navy pilot with the jet engines, at 92, you begin to lose some of that. Unfortunately, I don't have them in, so I apologize. I should be able to hear fine, but I'm having a little trouble concentrating. I almost have to lip read a little bit.
Okay, Dennis, I'm going to try to talk loud. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, I'm Brianne. Dennis, I want to thank you, first of all, for everything today. It's been such a blessing and such a great way to start my Valentine's today. I know that you've been a mentor to so many people, that you've been the leader, you've been the mentor, but I want to know the mentors that pushed you the most, the mentors that made the biggest difference in your life. I'm assuming one of the qualities was probably love. What were the other qualities of those people that that mentored you the best?
Boy, that's a really good question. The greatest mentor in my life was my grandmother, because I came from a broken family and I rode my bike over to Moore Lawn 10 miles. And when I got to her house, I noticed something. She said, "Here he comes. Here comes my great boy. And you mow a great lawn," she said. And she said, "We have a lot to do today. There's some raking to be done." And she said, "I want to teach you some things on how to do." And we would plant vegetable garden. And the bottom line was, she was the first and most important person who made me feel that I was worthwhile, that I was worth something. My father left. My mother was sad and bitter. And so there was a lot of negative talk. So she uplifted me by planting seeds of greatness. She said, "Model yourself after people who've been great in their service and contribution to other people." So I decided to become a servant leader instead of a status seeker. And then I met Jonas Salk, the developer of the first polio vaccine, and I became his Jiminy Cricket. He couldn't understand why people had a hidden agenda. And he said, "What is a hidden agenda?" And I said, "That's what people are really interested in, but you don't know that. And you're not sure of what they want from you, but that's what's hidden, is the real agenda. Most people are not forthright in that." And he said, "There's something I want to tell you that I want you to remember. Don't talk about positive thinking as if you could walk on water like the Lord." And of course, Jonas Salk, being Jewish, he had a different Lord maybe than I did, but he said, "I want you to study and try to get as much direct factual information from the source rather than from maybe," and in those days there was no internet, but he said, "I want you to get firsthand information rather than secondhand stuff, because I want you to try to be as factual, and I want you to dispense more factual information than just something that'll make people feel good." He said, "I want you to be authentic." So I learned from him that, and then I learned maybe a couple of things. I learned something from Ronald Reagan when I was alone with him before he became president. He said, "Wow, I've sold myself into the most imposing position in the world. Now I guess I have to back it up with really good people." And then I learned from Gorbachev, when the evil empire fell apart, Gorbachev and I went for a walk, and Gorbachev said, "You know, the one thing that made me do the things I did and jeopardized my life is that I trusted him with a handshake." And he said, I felt that I could trust him. So what I learned from Reagan and Gorbachev is you have to trust each other, because you're jeopardizing the whole world and your own family and your own life by the decisions you make. But along the way, I've had these people come along. And the last one was Billy Graham. And Billy Graham, said to me, "Dennis, you're struggling a little bit sometimes." He said, "You're using your mind an awful lot, and your spiritual side is fighting with your mind because you travel and you're in India and I said, "It's really difficult to focus on one great good." And he said, "I'll give you some advice, Dennis. I want you to behave as if your creator is with you in every moment that you're making a decision. And I want you to behave in a way that would make him be pleased with what you're doing." He said, "I want you, instead of preaching about your great faith, I want you to act in faith. And I think along the way, you're going to discover your true belief system." He said, just act it out and be that way rather than talk that way. So I'm trying to walk the walk instead of just talk the talk. And those are the best mentors that I've ever had along the way.
So good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I could hear her. I don't know where Adora went, but that's okay.
Since I think my hands are, I would like to be very brief. I'm Justine. Dennis, you
Yes.
are father's age, and I am so grateful for you reminding me that to be with him is probably the most important thing that I could do in my life right now. And I maybe needed that reminder, because what I'm getting from you is that it is our connection with one another, which is what I think we have been feeling here in the DIVA Network, that is the most important thing. And the lessons that you have learned and the wisdom that you are bringing us, I'm just very grateful for. And I don't know if you can answer this question, but is there a person in up and coming that you've become aware of, besides Adora, of course, that you think is a great influencer to come?
That's a great question, and I love your earrings. They yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
they look great.
Thank
Yeah, you know, I've been looking at so many influencers, so I spend every day trying to watch podcasts and watch the people who are talking, and it's very difficult, but I'm trying to keep up with times to make sure that my AI knowledge, for example, I know that you can't write an AI book and put it on Amazon because it has to be AI assisted rather than AI generated. So there are a lot of people that are throwing books up on Amazon trying to make a lot of money, but it's been written by AI. And I use AI too because it can really focus in on the media, although we're still getting other people's opinions. But you know, I really don't know of one influencer like that. I just love the idea there are so many young people who are diving deeply into their self-awareness, especially the group on this call. There are so few people interested in taking the deep dive into self-awareness and to be aware of how uniquely different and how everything we've done influences what we've done. But there's one other thing that I would like to mention. There's a little poem that I've written that I remind myself of. Have you seen anywhere a dear boy and a girl and a small winsome brother of four? It was only today, maybe a year, they played by my kitchen door. It was only today or maybe a year, but now they've wandered away. Someday I know they must stop and look back and wish they were children again. And oh, just to play and to laugh once again, I'd run out my kitchen door, for there's never a chore that could keep me away. Could I just hear my children call me to play? Where are my children? I've got time today. And I find that the time of my life is the most important resource that I have. And I urge everyone to spend less time watching other people making money in their profession. Learn as much as you can by what other people have learned and the mistakes they've made and how they've overcome them. But don't spend too much time watching the rich and famous because it's a trap. We all want to be like that, and we have this desire to be somebody, but it's much better to be that authentic self. And I wish I could answer your question. All I can say is that you've really given me all of you, as I look across your faces, have given me a feeling of love today that I didn't have before. I'm so glad that you allowed me to come on late.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Dennis,
So
Dennis, this is Jimmy Ezel, and Dora asked me to come in and fill in for her. I have the fortunate opportunity to get to run with her as the president of the DIVA Network. And I've heard you before speak. And of course, when I was younger, I read your books early on in my corporate career, and just want to thank you for the impact you've made in an old guy like myself who's got 5 grandsons and a granddaughter, my first granddaughter last week in my life. And just want to tell you thank you for everything that like even today, just like this message and how it all played out for the last 2 hours and so many minutes. It's just been incredible to be here. So everybody, let's honor Dennis. Adora had to jump off and take care of her daughter real quick. She completely forgot about time and had to go pick up her daughter. And so anyways, let's just give Dennis any closing thoughts before we send you off, and just wish you just massive amounts of abundance and love from this group.
Thank you so much. You know, that means a lot, especially, you know, the way you came into the conversation like that. How would you like to be me and have a great granddaughter that has just graduated from high school and is ready to go to college. I'm talking about your grandchild's child, a great-granddaughter going to college, a great-granddaughter ready in middle school, a great-granddaughter that's just turning 1 year old, and another great-granddaughter coming in August. And so there are no grandsons, great-grandsons coming along, and I'm worried that Waitley will disappear into the atmosphere with all the girls that are coming along. But there's nothing more precious to me than having my granddaughter, who now has two daughters. She came to a meeting of mine, and people say, how do you know that she loves you? And I said, well, let me do something. Let me ask her to come over and have you ask that question. And she came over and they said, how do you know how much your grandfather loves you? And she said, well, because he's always been there for me, and my greatest memories have been my times with him. And we don't even have to talk very often. It's just that every time I see him, all that love since age 5 comes gushing back to me because he was always there for me. And so I find that the people you spent the most time and effort in are the ones who are paying it back to you when you least expect it. But there's nothing greater than to be 92 and to have divas that are coming up that in college, high school. I mean, it's incredible. It's the greatest thrill of my life. But I'm going to have to sign off. But I just want you to know how much love I feel.
Thank you.
How
But I
authentic it is.
Yeah.
How personal it is, and how it has nothing to do with my persona or my speaking. I've never met anyone less important than myself, and I've never met anyone that I feel is that much more important than myself. I'm as good as the best, but no better than the rest. And I think that kind of feeling that you've got so much value that you don't need to try to push it onto other people so much. They can feel it, and they can feel it when you talk. But God bless all of you. And
Love you, Dennis. I love you.
yourselves and give
on my
Dennis
way to
some
get.
love. Let's send him
Yeah.
off. There's some love,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank
Unmute
you,
yourselves.
Dennis. We
Thank
love
you all.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
amazing.
Dennis. Thank you.
On the
Thank you
life
so
and
much.
blessings to
Beautiful.
Thank
you.
you,
Dennis,
Happy
Dennis.
thank you so
Valentine's
much.
Thank you.
Day.
Happy
Happy
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Valentine's
Thank
Day.
you.
Valentine's Day.
Have a
Thank you,
wonderful day.
Dennis. Happy
Bye.
Valentine's Day,
Bye
everybody.
bye, Dennis.
Bye bye. Love you all. Thank you.
Love you, Dennis.
Bye.
We love you, Dennis. Thank you. It was such a
Love
great
you.
gift.
Wow.
Bye bye.
Wow.
Happy Valentine's.
All right,
Okay,
Diva
beautiful.
community,
Bye. Oh
Diva
my
world.
goodness.
Was that amazing or what? Just
Jim.
Yes.
wow.
Oh my goodness,
Valentine's
world.
Day to
Wow.
everybody.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
speechless. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Adora. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jimmy. I love you all.
Listen, everybody, go out in love today and just spread that. I mean, Valentine's Day has a lot of different meanings for lots of different ones of us on here, and today I think it went to another level. And so, anyways, love you all. We will see you on the next live event. All right. So we appreciate y'all. Love you all. We'll see you soon, everybody.
Love you too. Love you all.
Love you
Bye-bye, everyone.
guys.
Bye.